If Jesus were today or Trump was back then, he would have been separated from his parents. Joseph and Mary would have been put in a separate detention center. He would have been put in a separate detention center, and he might likely have died in custody like another child did over the holidays.
Welcome to this week's Wacky Moments of Liberal Expression, and Express they did this week. Grab yourself a barf bag as the bastion of facts first, CNN, gushes about Nancy Pelosi's nonpartisan girl power sending messages that cross all professions and all walks of life.
No, it was obviously a historic moment for women, but she didn't wear her femininity on her sleeve and her, for lack of a better way to say, girl power on her sleeve the way she is now. And that was one of the things that was striking when I talked to her, and I've seen in other interviews since, the fact that she is very openly, aggressively, consciously trying to send messages to women of all parties in a nonpartisan way and of all professions, all walks of life.
Yeah, that's how the liberal media views the new House Speaker, but we have to go to MSNBC to get to the higher meta level and learn how the liberal media views Pelosi viewing herself.
She views herself as somebody who has collected years of wisdom and experience and is the right general, is how she's been kind of phrasing it behind the scenes to people as she's tried to win them over to lead the troops into this fight.
Yeah, it's good to know that Nancy Pelosi has a high opinion of Nancy Pelosi. Now that's real news reporting there. Now, I wouldn't say that the liberal media was overly biased and was, actually celebrating the new Democratic majority in the House or Nancy Pelosi becoming Speaker again, but I'll let them say it.
So to see families together at this moment, to see the joy of new people thinking that maybe things will be different, that maybe something will change and this fever will break. We just have to celebrate that moment. Let us just take this moment and feel good about it and know that maybe things will get tough again tomorrow. But I just have a little bit better feeling about things right now. All
right, have you barfed up those heavy holiday meals yet watching this? Well, there might be some more weight loss to come as MSNBC decides to ratchet up their anti-Trump BS machine to 11. And they conclude that Trump would let baby Jesus die.
If Jesus were today or Trump was back then, he would have been separated from his parents. Joseph and Mary would have been put in a separate detention center. He would have been put in a separate detention center, and he might likely have died in custody like another child did over the holidays.
Wow. To say the liberals get so upset about the idea of a border wall that they will go to extremes is certainly an understatement. In fact, CNN is convinced that when Trump spoke about the wall while surrounded by border agents who support the measure this week, it wasn't because anyone really believes in building a wall. It was because of, well, it's because the president needed to respond to the mightily important CNN.
I said, the president's coming out. And I knew in my spirit that he was coming out. And sure enough, he came. She opened the door. He didn't come out, and then ultimately came out a few seconds later. And the interesting piece is it was meant to upstage Nancy Pelosi,
of course,
but it was also to answer the reports that were on CNN. Remember those reports this week that have been on CNN that the president has not made it in the briefing room at all in 2 years?
Well, I guess we know who's really running the country. It's CNN. I mean, they're so mad that the president addressed the media at a time when they wanted to focus solely on Nancy Pelosi and throw glitter.
It's pretty disgraceful, don't you think? This new Speaker of the House, a moving moment on the Hill, new members, and he has to have a ludicrous stunt, sorry to interrupt you, but a ludicrous stunt, with some union officials who endorsed him.
That's exactly what it is. Like I said to you, it's deflection, it's distraction. He can't stand it that there's Democratic Woodstock going on in the streets of Washington and in the Capitol Hill this entire day. There's Democrats running around, almost throwing glitter. There's happiness.
But don't think that the mighty CNN that commands presidents can't have their ego bruised. We close out this week with a really great look at CNN's coverage of ex-Marine Paul Whelan. Now, he's being held in Russia. And when CNN's Alison Camerota interviews Whelan's twin brother David about the arrest, well,
there are some strange elements of your, or at least questionable, I guess, of your brother's story. He had this social media account, the equivalent in Russia of Facebook. It's called VK. And he's had it for 13 years. And he had various postings on there, pictures of him in Russia. I think the first one that we have is where he took like sort of a rest and relaxation. Well, here's one. I wasn't planning to go to this one yet, but let's talk about this one. Here's one where he says, just drinking coffee and watching fake news. Now, I'm not taking this personally that he's pictured with CNN, but I just am wondering, is this a statement on his part somehow?
Fake news. It's a statement of fact, right? You know, remember when they taught journalists that the story isn't about you? It seems to be a lesson lost on CNN. That's all the time we have this week. I'm Eric Shiner from MRC-TV. We'll see you again next week with more liberal media wackiness.